Ascendant in Cancer. One can be of any sign, but depending on the time and place of birth, it is possible to have Ascendant in Cancer, symbolizing a destination, where to learn about sensitivity and protection. When we say that someone is of Cancer, it is because they were born between June 21st and July 22nd, approximately the period in which the Sun transits that sign. Instead, to know if the Ascendant is in Cancer, it is necessary to know the time and place of birth. Since the Ascender is the sign that appears on the horizon at the east point at the time of the first breath, Cancer showing itself on the horizon suggests learning to develop empathic, protective, and solidarity talents. Cancer is a cardinal sign, and like the other cardinal signs, Aries, Libra, and Capricorn, a person must understand that his destiny is of initiator and motivator. Cancer is a cardinal of water, and his life becomes meaningful when he understands how to restart his emotions, how to overcome and heal inherited pains, and is prepared to relate from a new quality of love contact. The Ascendant in Cancer usually has strong emotional marks associated with a particular sensitivity and instability in childhood, in which family conflicts hit him overwhelmingly and left him a personal mark of fragility and fear. As an adult, when he feels emotionally vulnerable, he continues to activate that same childish fear that removes and cools him out, a fear of opening the old wounds of his childhood. He avoids exposure to injury, and therefore takes distance from anyone who proposes greater commitment or requires greater care. The excessive fear of being hurt leads him to take refuge in a rational, intellectual, and speculative style. He is trapped in his peculiar cunning from where he justifies all his disengagement. But even if he resists, life leads him to take care of the needs of his environment or his family. It is worth differentiating if your moon in Cancer. You need family security and privacy. If you are Sun in Cancer, you are sensitive, tender, and familiar. If you are an Ascendant in Cancer, you'll have to learn to recognize your hidden tenderness and your denied sensitivity. Her own mother experienced experiences of pain and fragility, so she experienced early scenes of helplessness, vulnerability, and fear. The mother, whether from her power or from her fragility, leaves a life mark associated with sensitivity and instability, and often she too requires particular attention or care. His destiny leads him to the Cancer, to the fragility of his environment. The emotional demand of the environment often scares him, and often invents excuses not to commit to the complaints he feels overwhelming, avoidable, and distant. He shields himself in a sympathetic and intellectual style, or in a superficial sociability, imposes some formality to cool relationships, and defend himself from any form of intimacy. He avoids closeness for fear of being hurt in his childish fragility, and to mask his fear of abandonment. They usually delay their path of solidarity on the pretext that until I satisfy my personal needs, I will not have time to deal with other people's needs. However, life drives you into experiences of maximum vulnerability, in which you will need to open up to others, generate closeness, and be prepared to care and be cared for. Life requires him to transcend his personal cunning and put himself at the service of the collective benefit by overcoming his unusual excuses for not dealing with his own and other feelings and needs. Ascending Cancer organizes in a particular way the astrological houses and destiny experiences, but in some cases a phenomenon called intercepted signs can happen, which can make that in that particular letter not all houses match the elements I describe. In any case, the ascending matrix and its consequent distribution of elements and signs through the houses continues to work. When there are signs intercepted, you have to add the punctual topics associated with those that appear differently. This requires interpreting that additional information as something extra, which adds scenarios and learning. But that does not disable what I described below. How to plant different learners from an Ascendant in Cancer, individuality scenarios, House 1 on Cancer, sensitive and protective action or dependence, and controlling symbiosis. The first sign of the Ascendant Cancer is Cancer, and it initiates the astral map, because it is the sign of House 1, which is the same as the ascending. Their way of coming out into the world will be cancerous or with high record of the needs of their surroundings. The vulnerability of his environment impacts him and instinctively drives him to care and protect. He is not always aware of everything that attracts him, the fragility of those around him. He strongly draws attention to the vulnerability surrounding him, the helpless people or the abandoned animals. Protective and maternal Cancer is the doorway to the world from a cordial, reliable, and friendly style. It radiates a maternal quality that magnetizes and draws everyone who feels needy. His personality is warm, generates intimacy, and leads people to seek his consolation. The person is often unaware of his protective emanation and does not understand why he attracts so many needy people and tries to escape the recurring demands for care. The more he pretends to disagree, the more his destiny will lead him to gravitate around the shortcomings. The first bond that magnetized his destiny as a caregiver was that of his mother. The mother was, or is, a woman of great incidence for this ascendant, whether by her strength or her vulnerability, always means an intense presence. To decipher the reason for the repetitions of her destiny as a caregiver, she must fully understand the leak that has left that first relationship of maternal love. Her mother was, or is still, the axis of her life, because that powerful, wonderful, or terrible relationship magnetizes and conditions her way of connecting with the rest of people. Probably from a young age, he had to take care of others, of his mother, of some brother or relative, and this early responsibility led him to structure a rational and independent personality to meet his obligations without being afraid of his own vulnerability and to meet the needs of others. The distant attitude is often repeated later in adulthood. His tendency to cool down and move away is often costly for the ascendant in Cancer, as his life will have to insist even more on sensitizing him, often with complicated affective situations that push him to register his own vulnerability. Inside it dwells a fearful child in need of love, whom he must listen to heal his own wounds. In his destiny as a protector, life drives him to learn to take care of himself and to care for himself, but to accompany the growth of others requires first to be accompanied by oneself. House 5 in Scorpio. Intense expressive commitment or controlling and fearful personality. The fifth sign of the ascending Cancer is Scorpio and suggests creative intensity and a powerful and dramatic expressive style. The complexity of Scorpio in the area of greater visibility of the birth card makes it intricate and contradictory to express itself. The house associated with brightness is activated with Scorpio and leads him to be the one who expresses conflicts and warns about becoming an excessively paranoid and questioning person. At an integration level, the Scorpion quality in House 5 suggests a committed, healing, and resilient personality that is not afraid of conflicts and tries to rescue the best in each crisis situation. In difficult times, he becomes resolute and powerful as he manages to reinvent himself in pain to move forward. He knows how to take the lead in boundary situations, solve and move forward in moments of tension until a solution is reached. He admires and values powerful and resilient people, those who have managed to reinvent themselves after great suffering. Scorpio's energy annoys the house associated with joy because its commitment to pain does not allow it to express itself in light, playful, or self-referential ways. It is difficult for you to be spontaneous or to do what you like because the more you listen to your heart, the more it hears the pain of your environment and needs to highlight it. He always denounces darkness, for he cannot conceal conflicts, nor disagreements, and therefore he treats problems with impudence. However, his intense sensitivity makes him very vulnerable to criticism and dramatically prone to offense. At a level of maximum integration, Scorpio's depth in the area of self-expression suggests connecting with art, music, and esoteric as expressive paths that help to conduct its intensity. Engaging in these activities helps you to recognize yourself and stop feeling harmful or dangerous. The more you engage in self-knowledge activities, the more you understand and are encouraged to open your heart to discover your healer and therapist talents. Your personal irradiation is powerful and transformative. It revitalizes when you find solutions and when your action corrects errors or causes changes that allow you to overcome conflicts. Scorpio in House 5 needs to feel motivated by what he does, feel that he leaves marks, and that his great commitment manages to improve what was complicated. At a level of tension, Scorpio in House 5 warns of his exaggerated and fatalist style. It often costs you to have fun or do playful activities. It seems like it costs you just to allow yourself to be happy. It is best to accept yourself permeable and cyclotomic, because if you want to cool your strong emotionality by appearing to be hard and infrangible, you will overload more. House 5 in Scorpio suggests the great magnitude that usually represents the so long awaited or so feared arrival of a child, which for this ascendant will be of a particular intensity. Being a father or mother is often contradictory and often literally very difficult. Scorpio is the entrance to the children's experience and symbolizes boundary experiences that will transform their entire life. The arrival of children is always powerful, complex, and contradictory, and comes from the hand of complicated moments and painful processes that force him to deep reconsiderations and questions about his own desires, to care and lead him to resignify the role of caregiver that he occupied in his family history. This will lead you to transcend fears and cleanse your personal and ancestral karma. Scorpio in House 5 also warns of excessive control and dependence on children, who will have to be careful not to generate enslaving, tyrannical relationships, and plagued with absorbing demands. House 9 in Pisces, natural empathy with the religious and trust in your own intuition, or vocational chaos and confusion to find meaning to life. The 9th sign of the Ascendant Cancer is Pisces, and suggests both a vocational path that includes empathic, artistic, and esoteric, as well as the possibility of developing it in sensitive and solidarity environments. House 9 in Pisces urges you to rely on the mystery and perceptions that transcend the rational order, to feel religion by your own sensitivity, and allow yourself to intuit transcending answers as your own instinct dictates it. At a level of tension, Pisces in House 9 may make it difficult for you to find a unique and true vocation, because everything you like and marries or dilutes your academic careers. He often has complications to finish in time and forms his studies. Pisces proposes to flow in your learning without pretending to meet formal institutional expectations, and go finding vocational answers without pressure or rush. The Piscian quality proposes to rely on its extreme sensitivity to find its vocation, since the action of its voice is activated in paths increasingly compromised with the vulnerability of its environment. It will be typical that you develop artistic activities where you can express your imagination and fantasies, or careers with humanitarian, therapeutic, or self-knowledge and esoteric studies profile. At a level of tension, Pisces in the area of personal confidence may impede your ability to trust yourself and represent sensual, religious, or vocational crises. Traditional religions do not fit in their fishy resonance, because they do not know how to submit to dogmas or threatening guilt or sins. He feels the divine as a permanent presence and intuits that there is not one God, but many mysterious ways of resonating with the celestial. House 9 also connects with the foreign. Pisces gives him affinity and empathy towards other cultures, and great permeability to be included in other systems of life or beliefs that can lead him to feel comfortable living away from his place of birth. However, he warns of a certain tendency to idealize life abroad, at the expense of his own country. There are many ascendants in Cancer who lead a wandering life and who have to repeatedly change their place of residence. Scenarios of materialization: House 2 in Leo, maximum creativity to generate or capricious relationship with money. The second sign of the Ascendant Cancer is Leo, and suggests a striking need to generate a good amount of resources to be able to feel a valuable person. If the Ascendant is the being responding to the scenes of destiny, House 2 represents what you need to possess to feel somebody, and Leo, the most self-referential sign of the Zodiac, emphasizes how important it becomes for this Ascendant to be able to have money, to feel good about yourself. Leo, as a resource generating tool, suggests great creativity and artistic talent to undertake any project, trusting that the more original it is, the better financial results it will get. It will be crucial to rely on what you like as a means to generate resources, as Leo in House 1 proposes that the most important thing to economic abundance is to be able to find what you are passionate about and commit to making that activity rewardable to you. Leonian quality will be the key to your economic wealth, and therefore it is essential that you encourage yourself to trust yourself. The more he listens to his heart, the more fortune he generates, and the more money he possesses, more confidence he has in himself to continue investing and generating with projects and activities that passionate him. Leonian quality needs to be appreciated and works best in areas where it is taken into account and is valued, so it is essential that your work allows you to be true to your personal style. At a level of tension, Leo in the money area can exacerbate his excessive dependence on money and warns of great difficulties in managing his economy properly by handling too capricious criteria or by being excessively impatient in his investments. He cannot wait and tends to harm his economic projects by not knowing how to wait for the times for them to bear fruit. It is difficult for him to resign any taste or delay any purchase he longs for, and often becomes a wasteful one, and manages his money in a covetous and incongruous way. They tend to become impatient and become intolerant if they do not have enough money to do what they capriciously want to do, or to spend it on some delusional personal lust. House 6 in Sagittarius. Vitality and enthusiasm to work and organize your daily tasks, or intransigence in your routines, in your work and in your food. The sixth sign of the ascending Cancer, Sagittarius, and suggests a vital and expansive contact with life surrounding you on a daily basis. His destiny as a carer of the world often finds vocation when dealing with the needs of his environment. Sagittarius in House 6 feels God in all the small manifestations of life, usually loves and cares for animals and nature. Life leads him to maternize every needy being that crosses his path, because his destiny attracts the vulnerable like a magnet, and, far from rejecting him, Sagittarius proposes to find meaning and vocation in his task of protection and care. At a level of tension, the naturally expansive Sagittarius quality finds it difficult to accommodate itself in the restrictive and orderly House 6, and creates complicated situations in his daily life, which tends to overwhelm him with tasks, prevent him from meeting schedules, and hinder the necessary patience in his everyday order. He must learn to distinguish between important and urgent tasks, and to delineate his own priorities and those of others, because he tends to waste his days only taking care of others and forgetting himself. It is difficult for him to put limits on foreign requests, and generally organizes his agenda as if he were the savior of the world, dealing excessively with foreign problems. Combining Sagittarius in House 6 is difficult and contradictory, as it must organize the sign of exaggeration in an area that requires discrimination and subtle observation. It will be your nightmare to stop and arrange your daily priorities to make your life more efficient. Sagittarius can also make them fundamentalist in their eating habits, overweight to eat or too dogmatic to feed, repetitive with some foods or refusing to incorporate new ones. Your body tends to be vital and strong, but it can also be voluminous and dull as it occupies too much physical space, more than necessary. Their daily routines, personal hygiene, and day-to-day care may be excessive and devote too much time or attention to them. The House 6 in Sagittarius suggests an enthusiastic and generous style for connecting with the people it works with. The Ascendant in Cancer tends to be well-treated, empowering, and generous with those who share their work tasks. Sagittarius, the most cheerful sign of the Zodiac, located in the work area, needs to be satisfied with his daily work because he does not know how to hide if he feels uncomfortable or dissatisfied, and cannot stay long in activities or places that do not please him. If a job bores him, he hardly stays, or at least does not know how to wait or conceal his daily discomfort. House 10 in Aries, pioneer and risky and social or excessive combativity at work. The 10th sign of the Ascendant Cancer is Aries, and suggests encouraging yourself to be a pioneer and risk doing different things in your work. By being brave to generate a more genuine professional place, You can encourage your environment to continue looking for jobs that passionate you and not to settle for tasks that do not encourage you. House 10 is the highest area on the birth card, and the sign that appears there is key to going high in life. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac and gives it maximum power to push and open up place in the world. Passionate about developing outside the home will be of great importance, as it helps him not to repeat family inertia of being stuck caring for his family. The Arian quality suggests that the good social position or success at work revitalizes and eroticalizes him. He becomes more attractive when he feels motivated in his work, and also disengages him from symbiosis with his mother or family. The idea of staying comfortable at home often tempts him, but Aries pushes him out to work. If he does not find a workplace to develop, he is likely to become too combative and warlike, damaging with his impatience and his childish anger the people of his own family. Aries in the house 10 suggests a prominent social place for this person, and so he should be encouraged to leave his home and push with all his strength his own projects, probably risking to be the first in the activity he carries out. If you are encouraged to start growing in the professional field, your life is lit up and colored because Aries is vitality in pure state. It is excitement, excitation. An external date is a fresh quality that invites you to go outside and build your own work projects. If you dare to leave your familiar field, your professional achievements will surely be innovative and cutting edge. At an under-integrated level, Aries, independent and combative, often generates tensions and clashes with the figures of authority for living them authoritarian and aggressive. He tends to question them unnecessarily, generating undue inconveniences and quarrels in his work. He is annoyed if his bosses fail to meet his expectations of dignity and brave leadership, when in fact he should be the one who deployed autonomously. Instead of fighting with others, Aries suggests taking the risk of arming his own independent work to become his own boss. The House 10 also symbolizes the relationship with his father, who, in a level of tension, may have lived as someone selfish, combative, or aggressive, but which, in its positive aspect, suggests a man who challenged him to move forward and grow to become someone more independent and more vital. A fighting side is often activated in the relationship with the father, because it probably meant an eternal fight or a challenge to independence for his mother. The way of living and relating to that father is crossed by how much the mother herself allowed, or did not, the person to connect with the father. The mother often occupied the paternal role, blurring or untouching the figure of the biological father. Link scenarios: House 3 in Virgo, clever and helpful mind, companionship, or hypercritical mind and demanding fraternal ties. The third sign of the Ascendant Cancer is Virgo and suggests a receptive and observing mind, able to organize itself in its own and efficient ways before each new learning experience. His intelligent observation, his rationality, and his logical pragmatism to communicate make him a skilled and efficient negotiator. At a level of tension, he warns that virgin perfectionism can lead him to be too demanding in learning. His labyrinthic and profound thinking always needs to go a little deeper and tends to excessive criticism and dissatisfaction. House 3 shapes its primary environment, suggests the vibration of the people of the same generation, and Virgo symbolizes that this early contact required effort and sacrifice, because it had to shape others, because it was the largest, the most adapted, or the least annoying. He educated him expecting premature maturity, sensibility, and efficiency compared to his peers. His early experiences with brothers, cousins, neighbors, or colleagues led him to adapt and assume excessive responsibilities. This early exercise of having to take care of others and not prioritizing or communicating your hardships in time often leads you, in your maturity, not to realize when to ask for help. They often go through difficulties or shortcomings and unnecessary loneliness. Her childish mark of having to be alert and controlling others exacerbates her observant and cautious style, which is generally reproduced in her relationships with classmates, in which she again feels the demand to be useful, to be valued by her peers. He is efficient in relationships, but not necessarily sincere in the intimate aspect. Virgo in House 3 gives him an alert and vigilant mind. but with little permission to enjoy. It is difficult for him to be spontaneous, and he has difficulty opening up to say what he really thinks. Repeated and observed, he often speaks with thoughtful, mature, and efficient words. In a level of tension, Virgo in the house 3 makes him excessively reckless, shameful and humble, lacks the gift to promote himself because lobbying usually disgusts him. The Virginian quality gives him an observational talent and a particular pragmatism to communicate projects. The sharpness of his comments often brings lucid and innovative incidents that replace obsolete ideas or inefficient agreements. It suggests cunning and ability to negotiate and to move efficiently in ties that require adaptability, as it realizes where to be located so as not to provoke conflicts, generating good treatment and cordiality between very different people. House 7 in Capricorn, support and security or cold formality in the couple. The 7th sign of the Ascendant Cancer is Capricorn and promises commitment and stability in the bonds of two, especially in the couple. Capricorn connects him to his way of relating to the couple. It is the sign that governs everything that supports us, the bones end, in particular the spine, and it can be said literally that the person feels solidity and integrity when he achieves a stable love relationship, recognizing that the partner is crucial to his emotional balance, and personal security helps him understand his mysterious attraction to cold and distant people who, although demanding, also perceives them secure and committed. House 7 in Capricorn suggests a stable and sustained love in time, but that includes evidence associated with waiting and distance. The couple invites you to mature before you can consolidate and can also indicate a couple that is distant in age, much older, or much younger. Capricorn symbolizes the quality of father, and in the area of the couple, marks a particular need to heal the paternal relationship that was diluted by the strong presence of his mother. The distance or coldness of the paternal bond is usually reproduced in the bond of the spouse, to whom he claims what the father could not give him. If she manages to resignify and heal the story with her father, her partnership relationship will be better. Capricorn in the area of commercial societies suggests that you must mature and learn to incorporate the rules that others impose on you in order to be able to build solid and successful labor projects. The partner brings sensibility, realistic criterion, and constructive capacity, and invites you to accept limits and objectivity in order to be able to consolidate fruitful and efficient societies. House 11 in Taureau, fertility and power to interact with others or hassle in teamwork, and heavy inertia to incorporate new ideas. The 11th sign of the Ascendant in Cancer is Taurus. House 11 suggests an appointment with our unprecedented potentialities and the gift of the future, and in combination with Taurus, can find great fertility in opening up to others. At a level of tension, it can give it maximum inertia because the Taurine gravity inhibits any risk of change. Opening up to the different and unplanned promises the Ascendant in Cancer a life of abundance and fertility, but the Taurine inertia generates countless excuses and fears to not open up to alien projects or accept the unplanned. Taureau needs to reproduce his customs and is tense in the lightest and most unstable area of the home map. Taureau is slow to incorporate because he needs to process before he trusts the new one. The experiences of changes and novelty of the 11th house often prove to be a difficult task for him. The Taurine quality needs to incorporate gradually the novelty, process each change, and assimilate it slowly, so it needs to take time before accepting other projects and slows decision, making even further when the proposals come from people not so close. Before you include new friends or face different projects than planned, you must be totally convinced. In a level of tension, Taureau in House 11 warns of some laziness to move and to go out into the world and to be included in new groups, and denounces a particular difficulty to accept new people and projects in his life. Taureau in House 11 suggests that if you overcome your pretension to control the environment and open up to the new things that it offers you, you will discover the benefit of operating in network and perceive how much you are favored when you let your personal projects circulate and shade with foreign colors. Where Taurus appears in the birth card, There is fertility and abundance is likely to come to his life when he includes the different and interacts more in groups. The House 11 in Taro also suggests the possibility of deploying power in the social and cultural sphere. Engaging in community actions or working in social organizations make you feel useful and valued. He has a special gift to improve group and social projects and a great capacity to help advance his social environment. The Taurine quality fertilizes and encourages creativity and potentialities. It can become someone with great influence in the collective sphere or undertake important actions to improve the environment. Emotional scenarios. House 4 in Libra. Harmonious alliances or linkages of conflicting projections with the family and with the mother. The fourth sign of the ascendant in Cancer is Libra, and suggests an emotional base that knows how to keep a cordial distance and not get too involved in anything that happens around you. However, he can be encouraged to get involved, trusting that Libra gives him a great ability to put himself in the place of the other, but he knows how to keep distance so as not to be destroyed by doing so. Like all ascendants in water, the ascendant in Cancer seeks refuge in the air element, longing to find the logic of his emotions and be able to understand and rationalize what he feels to be coherent and not over low. Libra, in her effective foundations, gives her a correct and formal style, with which she pleases, but also with whom she protects and distances herself. At a level of tension, Libra in the fourth house can lead you to forever swing without finding your place in the world or being able to arm a safe home. From the more integrated aspect, Libra in House 4 suggests a capacity to adapt to other cultures and to feel a citizen of the world and overcome the human tendency to be gregarian and to impose borders or to fanatize with nationalisms. The House 4 in Libra also symbolizes his emotional base, and, on a gross level, Libra drives him to act in pleasant but superficial ways, so that he never stops communicating what he really feels. It tries to harmonize and be well, so that everyone wants it, and usually has many aesthetic ties, with which it is difficult to deep contact or feel true affection, because it only appears to be committed. She settles in formal relationships to ensure distance and tranquility. The challenge will be to learn to take care of and protect without pretending, and without fear, because he understood that he does not need to appear to be committed, as Libra enables him to assimilate his emotions subtly, to connect smoothly without overlowing. Libra in its emotional base allows you to observe with balanced distance our rooted emotional matrices from which we unconsciously repeat inherited fears. We are taken by dark gregarian and archaic emotions that disturb us generation after generation. Libra's objective distance allows her to discriminate against these pathological repetitions, to free her family from her heavy inheritance, and enable more loving and compassionate spaces of containment. At an integrated level, Libra gives you subtlety and harmony to relate to the issues of the home, brings good treatment and cordiality to your family at the risk of some false formality, not to get too involved in the matters of your clan. His emotional base is anti-regal and pacifist. He hates conflicts and wars, and is committed to agreements, because he longs to live in a world of peace and solidarity. Also, House 4 in Libra suggests the link with the maternal, and symbolizes the possibility of living the mother as an ally, or projecting in her the tensions and conflicts that she does not recognize in herself. The mother, or the figure that gave birth to life, makes her a mirror. She is her own reflection. Everything she rejects or admires of her speaks to her of herself. The ascendant in Cancer sees himself in how he speaks, judges and admires or condemns his mother. This relationship is a source of continuous learning. The mother and the relationship she generates with her will require an extraordinary state of attention and a prejudice, free observation in order to be able to truly discover in that bond. She is the great teacher of both positive and negative projection, may be adored and idolized or, on the contrary, rejected. The same is true, because that mother, idolized or despised, steals energy that is own, but that is denied. The brightness or darkness that she mirrors represents everything that cannot be recognized as one's own. Libra suggests balancing the relationship with the other plate of the scale of her own identity, that is her mother, and usually moves conditioned to please or combat her desire. Whether she gets away or approaches, the center of her action remains her mother, which irritates or angers her is constitutive of her own emotional balance. His mother had excessive protagonism in his childhood, was the pillar of his family, and who guaranteed his safety, and hence his marked influence, which can lead him to continue depending and caring for his emotional states, even as an adult. He must be careful not to remain in the role of perpetual caregiver of the family, or in the place of eternal son, protected and defined by the clan. Through his life, he will encounter strong female figures that will generate a particular impact on him, and that will lead him to reproduce the relationship with his mother, partners, friends, teachers, bosses. The ascendant in Cancer also suggests the presence of a powerful grandmother, generally the maternal grandma, who marked her childhood by the way she related to her own mother, whether from admiration, from joint work, or from envy and competition. The intense mother-grandmother relationship draws her attention and conditionates her own valuation. Through her life, it will be crucial to trust, nurture, and learn from other women and mothers with less projective burden than her own. Aquarius in House 8 always wants to break rules and provoke the authorities. His way of acting revolutionizes and liberates, for he proposes to encourage us to question our gregarian fears that close our sensitivity to human suffering, and to understand that only by transcending our dreadful ways of understanding love will we be able to generate a radical change in the world, so that humanity becomes truly more loving and compassionate. House 8 also symbolizes contact with the ability to manage, discern, and share money with others, and proposes the possibility of being creative in distributing power and money, both in the couple and in societies or in instances. He knows that if he is allowed to be carried by the human urge to keep everything for himself, it would only cause greater crises, because Aquarius is recycled and enhanced when it distributes fluently among all, instead of disconnecting or retreating when situations become intense or excessive emotional demands. House 8 in Aquarius proposes to transcend his fantasy that giving up is losing freedom to begin to trust his talents of disengagement and be able to go through emotional intensities without melting into foreign conflicts. Aquarius in House 8 suggests that, although he did not know it, at the time the person with Ascendant in Cancer was born, the family was going through deep questions about individual obligations and freedoms, transiting a climate of creative agitation with rethinking about commitments, distribution of responsibilities, and independence between their parents. The House 8 in Aquarium proposes to accept his feared autonomy, to take care of the individual space he needs to give himself and his affections. He proposes to understand that personal freedom is the key for any love bond to progress, because indeed, dependency and symbiosis are the worst enemies in his destiny as a loving carer. Working on separation will be crucial in order to be able to take care of and enable the growth of your environment without becoming an overwhelming claimant, and to transcend the fear of losing the loved one by fears rooted in experiences of abandonment engraved on fire in the history of your own family. There is a great pressure toward freedom which, far from being opposed to its destiny of protection and care, must be understood as loving forces that drive it to overcome the tendency to take care only of acquaintances or family, to begin to understand love as a universal quality. Aquarium in House 8 proposes to transcend the human walls that are concerned about caring only for the people close to or to preserve the security and bonanza only of the own nation, to feel compassion before any pain or with any need of any human being, as far away as it is to our small world. At an integration level, the Aquarian quality in House 8 allows you to discriminate what the other needs beyond your own projections, empowers you to observe and discriminate against the needs of others. Aquarius in House 8 always wants to break rules and provoke the authorities. His way of acting revolutionizes and liberates, for he proposes to encourage us to question our gregarian fears that close our sensitivity to human suffering, and to understand that only by transcending our dreadful ways of understanding love will we be able to generate a radical change in the world so that humanity becomes truly more loving and compassionate. House 8 also symbolizes contact with the ability to manage, discern, and share money with others, and proposes the possibility of being creative in distributing power and money, both in the couple and in societies or in instances. He knows that if he is allowed to be carried by the human urge to keep everything for himself, it would only cause greater crises, because Aquarius is recycled and enhanced when it distributes fluently among all, instead of disconnecting or retreating when situations become intense or excessive emotional demands. House 8 in Aquarius proposes to transcend his fantasy that giving up is losing freedom to begin to trust his talents of disengagement and be able to go through emotional intensities without melting into foreign conflicts. Aquarius in House 8 suggests that, although he did not know it, at the time the person with Ascendant in Cancer was born, the family was going through deep questions about individual obligations and freedoms, transiting a climate of creative agitation with rethinking about commitments, distribution of responsibilities, and independence between their parents. He indicates that his ancestors were left helpless by those who had to take care of them, and this leads him to feel an unconscious fear of giving freedom. It will have to overcome its impulse to symbiosis and jealousy to free itself from unconscious covenants of mutual care made by the female branch loaded with fear and resentment for the inequality suffered between men and women. House 12 in Geminis. Clarity to communicate the important or cunning to seduce by naming the spells that the other person wants to hear. The 11th second ascendant sign in Cancer is Gemini and suggests a resonant, permeable mind that captures circulating information and knows how to communicate it. The spell of Geminis makes him the great communicator that makes understandable what nobody manages to end up understanding, or one that denounces what others do not dare. He makes it understandable to everyone, because he knows how to verbalize and explain with accessible, fraternal, and close words. He knows how to act as a bridge to help people meet, understand, and solidarize. Gemini in House 12 makes him adaptable to overcome prejudices about who should be loved or who deserves his protection, to make him a great carer of the world. At a level of tension, the Geminian quality in the territory of spells gives you an enticing, embellishing word that says only what others want to hear. Capture what your environment needs to hear and reproduce it by prioritizing resonance and minimizing the truth. He speaks without thinking, becoming someone untrustworthy, cheating, and lying. Geminis in House 12 overestimates intellectual understanding and leads him to live a life enchanted by the rationale, which takes him away from his destiny of sensitivity and compassion, but which generates recurrent and irrational emotional downturns caused by the little record of his emotions. He even tends to justify his emotional cyclothymia with jokes, so as not to deepen and be able to continue with his style of pleasant and fun appearance. Summary of the Ascendant in Cancer modality: Cardinal, Initiador, Element, Water, Sensibilidad, Learning by Destination, Sensitive, Initiator, Protector, Container, Curator of your family and the world. Tendency: excuse yourself in words and stay away from contact for wanting to impose your reason. Suffer: people who are too protective or dependent, absorbing or idealized mother, regent. Moon: parts of the body that rule and of special vulnerability, stomach, breasts, and uterus. Period of basic learning, from 0 to 7 years, which will resize between the ages of 42 and 49. Life mission: heal family history and protect the vulnerable misinterpretation of the mission. Becoming dependent in the role of eternal son. Distribution of signs for ascending in Cancer: your destiny is to act with Cancer, generate with Leo, communicate with Virgo, emotionally stabilize with Libra, express yourself with Scorpio, organize your life with Sagittarius, complement with Capricorn, crossing crisis to transform with Aquarius, trust and grow with Pisces, work and be authority with Aries, open up to new projects and friends with Tauro, Resonate and capture with Geminis. If this ascendant finds a way to integrate these proposals, it will become a healer of family history and a loving protector, generate with creativity and originality, communicate with localized and efficient modes, be emotionally pleasant and pacifist, express yourself with emotional commitment, organize with enthusiasm and joy, to be complemented by solvency and stability. When you enter a crisis, transform and free yourself because you always find creative variables. Know how to trust your intuition and empathy. Work with enthusiasm and pioneering originality. Open up to the new with powerful power. Resonate with what is necessary to communicate. If this ascendant does not find a way to integrate these proposals, he will suffer a destiny of eternal search for situations that give him security or people who protect him. Generate resources by spending more than you earn. Communicate and fraternize in harsh and judgmental ways. Be emotionally hypocritical and accommodative. Show yourself paranoid and controlling. Organize your everyday life exaggerating and lacking in realistic criteria. Compliment or fall in love with distant and angry people. In the face of every crisis, be excessively anxious and believe that you will go crazy. To rely excessively on fantasies and delusions impossible. Living in a world of work that is hostile, belligerent and aggressive. Having friends who seem stubborn and capricious, and not knowing how to open up to different people. Be enchanted with superficial activities and justify yourself with empty words.